Alright, so the European Championship 2023 just took place and we need to talk about everything that happened. Please share all your thoughts if you were maybe there, what your experience was like, and overall if you were just watching from home, what you thought of the diversity of decks we saw on stream and just overall of the event. And of course like the video if you liked it. So getting right into it, first we have the deck breakdown of day one, and like I said, there is a ton of different decks. Kashtira is still at the forefront with 19% representation, and we also have Runic, which is basically any variant, and also Bestial Dragon. So for the most part, we knew that Kashtira and Runic and also Sprite variants, and we have Labyrinth down here as well, are going to be good. But Bestial Dragon really just sort of came as a bit of a surprise, having 8% representation, which is quite a lot. It didn't seem like the fan favorite going into this event, but in my opinion, it was really able to shine, and we saw it on stream quite a lot, and it was just great to see, and I do think it's going to be one of the top contenders moving forward. And also looking at some of the other ones like Branded, Vanquish Soul, Flunder, and I'm deliberately avoiding Rika for right now, but all of these ones are also quite surprising. Branded mainly because it doesn't have a high representation. And I'm going to just spoil it a tiny bit. It did manage to go quite far. It managed to make it all the way to top 8, but only one player, as far as I know, made it with Branded. So I feel like this says a lot about the deck. Also Vanquish Soul, kind of surprising. Flunder, also quite surprising. Shifter is still a thing. We saw, I think, Draw in the main deck of some Flunder players, which is also a really good meta call. And talking about Rika as the last deck, of course we have to mention it since it made it all the way to the finals. And just overall, Rika just managed to have such a good streak on stream overall. Not counting the first round because Blackwing won that, which is kind of funny, but also really cool. But other than that, Rika, I feel like right now really established itself finally as the deck to beat, and not to mention that it went completely untouched when it comes to the world's ban list, so it is going to be a really nice choice for that event in particular. And then we also have the top 64 breakdowns, so we can sort of start to see some of the conversion rates. In Kashtira still, it's at 30%, and some people might have an issue with that. I think it makes a lot of sense. The deck wasn't hit to the point it couldn't contend anymore, so yeah, it makes sense. And then we have Bestial Dragon, again at 16%. Like I said, I am kind of biased, but it is really nice to see dragons do well. And then we have Runic, Flunder, Rika, and Branded. So a lot of the decks that were also quite represented when it comes to the overall deck breakdown, but Labyrinth actually didn't make it to the point where it had enough slots to actually be represented in the top 64 breakdown. So it goes into other, and we also have some other interesting decks, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, these are the decks to beat, the top contenders right now. Flunder, still a bit surprising, but a lot of times these decks just manage to do really well at these types of events because the meta calls that the people make when it comes to the tech cards really come into play. So that's it for the top 64. And then looking at, I did some of my own research. There are no other breakdowns posted by Konami officially. So from what I saw, we have top 8, Branded, Kashtira, Rika, Runic Live Twin Sprite, and Labyrinth. There are 3 decks that I don't... Actually, no, there's another Kashtira. So 2 decks I'm unaware of, which made it to top 8. So if you have any information, I would be really happy if you help me in the comments, also so people know it. But there is a lot of diversity in top 8, which is cool. You know, there are still some of the top decks that you really need to prepare for, like Kashtira, Rika, Sprite variants, and Runic stuff. So there's not as much confusion preparing for bigger events, but I think it is a really good representation of the meta. And then looking at top 4, we have Rika, Labyrinth, and also 2 Kashtira. And of course, in the finals, we have Rika versus Kashtira. Before talking about the eventual winner, I did want to ask you guys about your opinion on the top 4 feature match, where Rika basically took it with conviction when, you know, Harpy's Feather Duster was activated. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about how, you know, there was a lot of beef about Eradicator, as you all know, in recent weeks. But Harpies managed to just completely blow out the Labyrinth opponents. So I just sort of wanted to put both of this on the scale and like ask you guys, what do you think about it? Because from listening to the players, they were hyped when the Harpies Feather Duster was activated. And of course, it would be really tough to play through 5 back row. But you know, there's sort of like, there's the duality of of people, you know, hyping Harpies and being very much against Eradicator when both of them are blowout cards. So I won't go too much into it, but I did want to, like, you know, food for thought. So please share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to read them. And then talking about the event show winner, it was amazing to see Rika win 2 years in a row, which is like, goes to show how good the deck is, goes to show how it's able to perform 2 years straight. I don't know, I think it's amazing and it's such a cool combo deck, and I feel like right now it really does finally deserve the respect. If anyone still hasn't shown the respect, right now is the time to do it, I feel like. And just like I said, it managed to perform for the entire event pretty much, so it's just amazing to see it well 2 years in a row. And Kashtira also making it all the way to the finals is just like I keep saying in this video, it does make a lot of sense. Some people might have an issue with it, but for the most part, I feel like it is the best deck. It has a ton of space for tech cards, which is really nice, and just overall doesn't have that many issues with bricking, so it's still able to open fairly well, and just you're able to diversify your boards depending on who you're going up against and the deck and all of that. So there's a ton of flexibility, and I just feel like that, you know, a deck doing that well, even if people don't really like it, it's still what's happening. So it is a deck you're going to have to be prepared for if you're still playing some competitive games this summer. And also talking about the decks and the players that managed to get first, second, and third place when it comes to the World's playoffs, which is the Runic Life Twin Sprite deck, the Runic for Hire deck, and also the Labyrinth deck. So we have quite a lot of different decks actually managed to make it to Worlds. And like I said, you know, I've talked about all the diversity, so that's another like piece of information for you guys. Those are the 3 decks that the people managed to pilot to secure their world spots. And also, of course, you know, I usually make some notes about interesting decks that managed to win on stream and tech cards that saw play. So we're going to go through all of that, and that's pretty much going to round off today's video. Basically, I wanted to talk about Blackwing, which I already mentioned. It beat Rika on stream round 1, which is like, you know, it is kind of cool for Blackwing. We also saw Earth Machine, and also the deck made it all the way to top 16. And also shout out to Boshti, his opponent, from top 64. And then we have Rika, like I talked about it, you know, just a ton of wins on stream. Vanquish Soul, Methmech, Runic Plunder Patrol, which at that point when it was on stream, it got a really good score still. So yeah, it's a deck that I feel like it's really cool, so I wanted to mention it. And another deck that was just like everywhere this weekend was Dark World. And not everywhere because a lot of people would play it, but the same person was featured like all the time. And I feel like I'm always dissing Dark World, but this person really did it justice. You know, he played it well. He really showed off what the Dark World deck can do. So I might even stop beefing with it a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. But I wanted to talk about it. And yeah, basically I also wanted to talk about when the Dark World player revived his opponent's Red Resonator to win in time, which was pretty much the meme of the weekend almost. And also we saw a Zark on field randomly, which I wanted to mention because like I like pendulums, so there's that. And also, to really round this video off, a couple cards that saw play and are just tech cards that you probably have to include in your strategies or respect were Droll, Book of Eclipse, we also saw Dark Ruler, Ash, Cosmic Cyclone, and there were many others, but these are the ones that really stood out to me because we are in a meta of hand traps and board breakers. So I feel like we really need to respect both and just use the ones that are like the best against certain matchups like Ash and Droll and all of that, and then turn our attention to cards like Book of Eclipse, Dark Ruler, and the other board breakers. We also saw the likes of even Pankratops in the main deck. So, you know, all in all, there's a ton of diversity in this format, not only when it comes to decks, but when it comes to tech cards as well. And it was a really enjoyable event to watch because there was a ton of different decks on stream. So if you have any final thoughts, of course, please share them in the comments down below. And if you like this video, like I said, please make sure to like it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.